Hey, what's going on, my friends? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor, and today I'm going to share with you 5 things I think you should know about tomorrow's full moon and eclipse happening on November 30th, 2020. We are kicking off perhaps the most powerful and expansive and accelerating energy window that any of us have lived through up until this point. We are truly living in remarkable times. And a lot of you are going to really be feeling this in your own individual life, especially in your own individual spiritual path. There's a lot to say about this. And as I always do, I'll break it down into 5 more specific themes. So theme 1, I wrote down instinct to ground. What I mean by that is that as we accelerate, as we go through these bursts of awakening speeds and really just press beyond the boundaries of the confines of our consciousness, it's like we are suddenly living in a much higher vibrational frequency. And this is amazing. This is beautiful. This is where the breakthroughs happen. The synchronicities increase. All the things we want in life, they can start to come. It's like ripe for these new awesome things we've wanted for a long time to literally just be there. But because we're getting used to the speed, sometimes we almost like relapse in old behaviors, old patterns, old addictions, old lower vibrational patterns essentially tend to at times for some of us resurface. I'll give an example for me. So recently I spent about a week in Costa Rica. Me and my friend Aaron Dowdy and my wife, we put together a plant medicine retreat out there. And it was literally one of the most life-changing weeks of my entire life. And when we came home, we were on a freaking cloud. It was like, I just felt so tapped in, so renewed, like a rebirth had taken place. But on the plane, the plane ride back, I confess, I ate like 9 little BS cookies that I got from the lounge for free. And I used to confess that I used to have issues with sugar and sort of binging out. That's one of my patterns. And it's been about a year since I've done that, but I did that. And I was really surprised, like, Victor, what's with the freaking cookie binge, man? And my wife did kind of something similar in her own way. And I started to kind of think about it. And it's something that, it's not something that we should do. It's something that we naturally do as a way of balancing out our vibration. And even though the cookies for me are not the best method to go about that, it does the job. Afterwards, I actually felt, aside from a little bit foggy, I felt a bit more in my body, a bit more grounded. But in light of this, I think if this relates to any of you, for one, be patient with yourself. Don't beat yourself up if these old habits come up. Sometimes, as again, they're a result of you balancing yourself out because you've had such a breakthrough spiritually and vibrationally. However, I think we can all agree there are probably wiser ways to ground ourselves. And it's something I'm going to work on in light of this. Because I can see this next year being full of these times of expansion. And I don't want to be binging on cookies every time. And you might not want to be going to the bottle every time or going to the pipe or whatever it is you do. We can accomplish the same thing by simply going in nature or something to that effect. But I bring this up because the vibrations are very high. And it's very, it's very unnecessary and unhelpful to really get down on yourself and to hold yourself to these really high expectations. If you find yourself doing some sort of variation of what I said, don't beat yourself up. No, it's like it's an instinctual thing that actually does serve a purpose, but you can learn from it and ground more wisely in the future. And I'll try to do the same. We can support each other. Okay. Number 2, I wrote down inspired to go to the next level with your spiritual growth. What I mean by that, all of our life purpose, regardless of the specifics. I'm a YouTuber. Maybe you're a dog groomer. Maybe Sally over there, is whatever. Those are like the external. Those are like the surface level expressions of our core purpose that you and everybody watching and myself, all of us share. And that's to really awaken spiritually. All of us have probably lived many lifetimes working diligently on spiritual growth and pressing the boundaries of our consciousness and coming into an incarnation and seeing how fast can we grow and evolve our consciousness. And that's something we are all doing right now. And that'll, of course, ripple out into these different sort of expressions that can help the collective, but it all boils down to that fundamental core goal that we all came in with. And you might find in your own journey, there are times where you just feel more inspired to like rededicate yourself to a spiritual practice. Or maybe you're reading a bunch of like new spiritual books, or maybe you found a cool teacher that you can start hanging out with. Regardless, it's a time that we can go deeper with our spirituality. And in turn, I think a lot of us are going to discover that in itself will resolve a lot of our problems. A lot of our problems are just, it's a manifestation of our needy ego running rampant in our life, creating all this imbalance. But when we work on our spiritual growth, we come back home, we come back into our center, and then life is more simple. We don't want as much, we don't have to do as much. It's more of like life becomes just a celebration of the now. And it's something that we can all tap into to a greater depth right now. I was inspired again in Costa Rica. It was like one of the last days, and we were doing our daytime San Pedro ceremony, which is a cactus, kind of like peyote, has mescaline in it, real powerful. And anyway, there's this beautiful woman who came, and she was the fire keeper. This woman literally dedicates her life to fire, if you can even believe that. And it was probably a 16-hour day for the whole group. And this woman was tending to the fire the whole time, and she loved it. And before lighting the fire, she came around and gave this speech that literally melted the hearts of everybody there. All of us were just in tears. She just got down on her knees like this. And she started like talking about her genuine, just heart-centered reverence and appreciation and awe of fire and what it represents and how that reflects the human life. And there's so many different parallels and metaphors, and every single log was put in place. Even the way she lit it, she rolled up this like tobacco incense spray, this like really complex, like a joint sort of looking thing. But it was like this, it was made from love, made with tobacco, made with all these other things. And just like the whole process was so in detail, so deep. And this woman was so connected and so present and so grateful. It was mind-blowing to me how much joy and how much happiness this woman derived from lighting a freaking fire. And it made me realize as I look around in my life and all the things I have and all the things that are going on, and I made me realize I don't bring nearly that depth of gratitude to a lot of the blessings in my life. My children, my wife, all of us have things in our life that we could really bring our awareness to. Anyway, just watching this woman do this made me realize I want to be more present. I want to make it a point to be more grateful. I want to spend more time to be quiet and just really bring that appreciation to all things in my life. So anyway, that was my inspiring little thing that life blessed me with. You might have something else that inspires you to go deeper within yourself. And in doing so, there's a lot more joy, a lot more passion, a lot more love that will be blossoming in your life like a flower. Number 3, the fog is lifting. Reminds me of this book I'm reading here. I love the Toltec books. This one is called The Mastery of Self by Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. And right early in the book, he talks about the shaman that calls themselves the Smoky Mirror. And they chose that name because, like a lot of shamans and people who dedicate themselves to spiritual growth, he started to glimpse the illuminated state, a state of unity consciousness, where you really not just believe, but experience yourself as the one. And as he started to kind of tap into this higher state of consciousness, he started to realize that when he would try to share it with people, he could tell it wasn't sticking, it wasn't getting in, it wasn't having an effect. And even himself would lower back down at times. And he used the ego consciousness that we're all in our sense breaking out of right now, as like a smoky mirror, because life is a reflection, but we don't see a clear reflection. We don't see clearly who we are. We don't see our power. We don't see our worth. We don't see how connected we are. It's like we're seeing through a smoky mirror. And anyway, we're living in a time where that smoke is literally starting to dissipate. And whether you really dedicate your life to spiritual growth or not, a lot of us do that in very 3D mundane ways and yet accomplish the similar result. The energy on the planet is promoting this dissipation of the smoke. And what I'm saying more practically, you might start to sort of see the way you've been ticking, the way your mind works, the patterns in your life. You might start to see it from this higher vantage point, and things start to click. And it can be a series of mind-blowing epiphanies at this time. I'll give an example to one of mine. I realized that almost all of my relationship issues and almost all of my problems stem from one core wound. I'm hesitant to share exactly what it is in case the people involved are listening, but it's one sort of from the parents, we'll say. It's one core wound. And it sort of caused me to be a certain way and show up a certain way in all of my relationships, creating most of the problems. It also caused me to have this insecurity and this deep need for attention and validation from the external. But the combination of those two ways of being have literally been the source of almost all of my problems. And the other day, I literally saw it for the first time in like this mind-blowing aha moment, clear as day. And just the awareness of that, already I'm seeing improving my relationships. And I'm just feeling more grounded, more happy, more at peace, more centered, more aligned, all from one epiphany. And me and you, we might start having lots of these epiphanies going forward, starting now, because the smoke is finally lifting. You might have been starting to become aware of some of your issues and realizing that perhaps you have an influence in some of your patterns and karmic cycles, if you will, but not quite able to put your finger on it, not quite able to stop it, to change it. Now is the time where you literally might start transcending these in a permanent, insane way. And it's so hopeful, it's so incredible. And it's just because we're existing at this time on the planet, and we've been doing the work leading up to this. The collective is now beginning what you began years ago, whether you were aware of it or not. If you're watching a video like this, you've been on the path for a long, long, long time. And your life has been building you up to this sort of point. And for people like you, it's going to start like unraveling in a powerful way of just the results of the hard work you've been doing. And it will start with these epiphanies. But it can be tempting to look out there in the world and get sucked in to the drama. But just remember, you're an individual. Your vibration is very high because you've earned it. And you consequently will, if you allow yourself, can have a radically different experience of this exact same type of energy. There can be chaos, there can be bliss. You belong over on the bliss side, okay? Anyway, I saw myself getting into a rant there. I'm gonna stop. Number 4, realizing your worth. A lot of times the problems in our life stem from a perceived lack of self-worth. And I'll give an example. A long time ago, I was a personal trainer. Some of you know that. And at one stage of my career, I used to go to people's houses to train them. It was after the gym I worked at closed down, and I started going to people's houses. And I had this one client, I'm not going to say her name, we'll call her Sally. Sally is what most of you would probably label pretty quickly as a narcissist. The way she would operate with me is she would almost be really like random. Like there'd be days where she's real pleasant, real nice, real inviting. And on those days, I'd kind of let my guard down and just start opening up. And then it's like she would see that and she'd strike and say something really disrespectful or undermining. And it was always like, it would just catch me off guard. And it was because it caught me off guard, I would never be able to find the words to respond. I would never really stick up for myself. And it was just this really challenging thing where I'd go home at night thinking about what Sally said to me. There'd be so many sleepless nights thinking about what I should have said, what I could have said, how dare her, why do I put up with it? And because At that time, I was already on the spiritual path. I had a sense. There's a metaphor here. There's a lesson here, Vic. You got to figure out, why is Sally in your life? And I kept trying to like find, how can I accept Sally more? What can I do? What's the lesson? Years went by where I put up with Sally's abuse. Finally, I just decided, like, I'm through trying to figure out what this lesson is. I no longer am going to subject myself to that person's energy and that disrespectful nature that frequently comes out from Sally. So I just, one day when I saw her, I made up something saying, I'm not going to be coming to this side of town. We're done training. Wish you the best. Just like that, Sally was gone. And I realized that the whole time, the lesson was I was putting up with that. Sally was a reflection of a wounded part of myself, a perceived illusory lack of self-worth that mirrored in Sally's presence. But once I finally refused, and once I started to become aware of my worth, like, I don't deserve this. I don't deserve that job. I don't deserve this relationship. I don't deserve this circumstance. You fill in the blank for yourself. But when you realize that, the change is automatic. So right now, you might start to becoming aware of your actual value. You might start to see how a lot of your problems in your life were a reflection of your perceived lack of self-worth, which is never true. You've always been worthy. You've always been lovable. And now is the time that you start to really realize that and make maybe some changes in your life. And sometimes life will help you make these changes on your own. And you'll just start attracting new circumstances, new people, new careers, new opportunities, new synchronicities that start to reflect this awareness of the self-worth and amazingness and awesomeness you've always been and always possessed. Okay, last one here. Number 5. This is an exciting one. A new chapter opening up for you. All of these things, these spiritual breakthroughs, these high vibrations we're living in, these realization of self-worth, they're going to alter your life in a very positive way. You might find a new path, or new paths are starting to open for you. And it can be very synchronistic. It can be like fate is just throwing this stuff together and inviting you down this new path that is more of a reflection of all the growth you've experienced in this recent time. I'm experiencing this with the Costa Rica thing. We were initially going to work with a certain group of medicine people, and last minute they weren't unable to make it. And we almost had to cancel the whole thing. You know, we had 23 people signed up. We were all booked. We were ready to go. It was like a few weeks away, and it caused us to kind of like think outside the box. And we ended up hooking up with these other people that live in Costa Rica. And anyway, it was such a magical experience. And all of us, me and Aaron and Patty, felt this deep bond, this like soulmate bond with these people that we never really met that much in Costa Rica. And we were all at the very last day after the retreat. It was so magical. We were sitting around the table having dinner, and we could just feel it. In fact, the one, maybe we'll call him like the leader, maybe one of the head shamans' names, I won't say his name. I won't say his name. Anyway, he was saying, because he's the one to kind of put together, he was just talking about, I can sense a new path is opening for all of us. He said, we don't know where it's going to go, but there's certainly a synergy here. And he said, we don't have to know where the path is going to end up. We don't have to know the 10 next steps. He said, we'll be able to smell the path. This guy always talks in metaphors, and he said, we could be able to smell the path, meaning your new chapter, your new opening, your new direction. Your mind will want to know what it's all about, where it's leading, how it's going to impact my existing life, all these questions. It doesn't work that way when fate ushers you along. But you can smell it. You can sense it. You can perceive the different things and how well they resonate with this new path. And you'll naturally find yourself walking the path flawlessly if you just tap into yourself. Let your intuition guide you at this time. There's so much going on right now. It's so easy to like trick ourselves into feeling confused and lost and overwhelmed. because the energy is like that. This powerful vibration now on the planet is kicking up all this stuff for us, but especially for the collective. It's creating kind of like a dissident, disorienting sort of vibe we're all kind of immersed in right now. And we can easily get swept away and feel that confusion and wonder, and life can be moving so fast. We have all these symptoms and we're purging and all this is going on. But the source of that is this high vibration energy that you and I at any time can relax back into. We find our center. I just go outside and I lay down and just lay there. And you just go and you lay, you just do nothing, just chill and breathe. Within a few minutes, you'll find yourself settling down. The craziness will dissipate and you will find yourself reconnected to your intuition, to your guidance, to the light within you that will guide you in this new chapter, which is going to be amazing. It's going to be really awesome for all of us. And it's not that we got lucky, it's that we've earned it. So congratulations, my friend. Great work. With that said, I'll leave you all to it. I hope you enjoyed this reading. I really hope it served you in some way. I wish you all nothing but the best in your journey. Thank you for your work. Much love to you all. Namaste.